Alfred Hitchcock, Sir Alfred, or the Master of Suspense, was an English-American film director known for his mysterious and captivating films that influenced generations of directors who followed. His well-known films include Vertigo, Rear Window, Shadow of a Doubt, Dial M for Murder, and of course, Psycho. Psycho was one of the most critically acclaimed of his filmography, featuring stunning cinematography, chilling performances, and a story that was way ahead of its time. However, despite the historic and influential work Hitchcock created, he was a man riddled with faults. It was known that on set, he would treat his actors and actresses as if they were cattle, like mindless sheep who needed to be tamed. The women on his set received the brunt of his directorial demands, and it has become a stark debate, especially after his career. Hitchcock was seemingly misogynistic for his negative nature towards women on screen and off screen. However, Psycho was different. Although it's been debated numerous times that Hitchcock's Psycho is misogynistic in nature due to its director, Carlota Ares Carrero of University of A Coruña discovered something different. In her undergrad thesis titled Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho, A Gender Studies Perspective, Carrero analyzes the validity of the argument of misogyny through Hitchcock's life and films, including the most important of all, Psycho. Before we continue, there will be spoilers for the 1960 film Psycho, and it needs to be said that regardless of the outcome of this thesis and video essay, nothing can excuse Hitchcock's treatment towards the actors and actresses he worked with. Please be advised that the topics discussed could be triggering. In this thesis, Carrero discovers a genius interpretation of one of the most complex films in history. Psycho isn't a film about men killing women and then blaming women for it, nor is it a film about men excusing violence against women, but instead, it's a film about the male gaze. The male gaze is a feminist theory that centers around the perspective of viewing women as objects of sexual pleasure for the men that see them. In Psycho, the most infamous scene of the film, the shower scene, the audience becomes voyeuristic, watching over the woman named Marion as she undresses. Before that scene, we receive a haunting shot of the killer, Norman Bates, as he watches Marion through the hole in the wall. To Carrero, this strongly implies that Marion is about to be killed, all in part due to the gaze that Bates has on her. The male gaze. As I mentioned earlier, the audience becomes voyeuristic of Marion as she showers, leading up to her murder. Carrero argues that Hitchcock is reminding us how dangerous not only the male gaze can be, but how our voyeuristic tendencies as an audience can be dangerous. Carrero explains that Hitchcock uses Marion Crane's death to declare that even though the filmgoer's often voyeuristic gaze can be a source of pleasure, this is not without its consequences. Hitchcock was known for his use of voyeurism in his films, and has even been condemned for it. However, in Psycho, this voyeurism speaks on the nature of the male gaze, and as Carrero interprets, Marion is watched over by a number of males in the film, eventually ending with Norman Bates. Hitchcock was a complex man, and with his death, it will possibly never be known what some of his true intentions were, but it seems quite obvious that Psycho was a film that was bent on proving the importance of discussing the male gaze and how it can affect women, something that was unheard of in American cinema at the time. Although Psycho discusses this important issue, especially in the modern world, I'd like to reiterate, it goes without saying that this does not excuse Hitchcock's treatment of women, specifically in reference to films after Psycho, such as The Birds and Marnie, in which he was accused of harassment by Tippi Hedren, the star of the films. However, it's still important to analyze Hitchcock's films. What Psycho does question is the analysis of his stories, and if the brutal nature of his works were ever supposed to be understood as misogynistic towards women, or if they were a discussion of the treatment towards women. Thank you.